Welcome to the deep dive. We take stacks of info, could be filings, reports, research notes, and really pull out the insights you need to get up to speed fast. Today, we're digging into a corporate filing from NELCO Ltd. Specifically, it's about their board meeting held just yesterday, July 14th, 2025. So our goal here is pretty straightforward. Figure out what went down in that meeting and maybe more importantly, what it means for you if you're keeping an eye on companies like this. The sources of communication they sent out to the stock exchanges, BSE Limited and the National Stock Exchange of India, signed by Ritesh Kamdar, who's their company's secretary and head of legal.
And you know, these filings are really important. They're basically designed to be these clear windows into how a company's doing, its health, its operations. It's all about transparency. Understanding them as well, it's key.
Absolutely. So first, we'll break down the main announcements from this specific meeting. But then, and this is crucial, we're going to set you up with the kinds of questions like a seasoned analyst would ask when the full financial results actually come out later. Sound good? Let's jump in.
Okay, so the meeting itself ran from 12:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. yesterday, July 14th. And the first big thing they did was approve the unaudited financial results. That's both consolidated and standalone for the quarter that ended June 30th, 2025. So that's their Q1 for fiscal year 26. And the filing does note these results have limited review reports with them.
Right. And unaudited is the key word there. It means, they haven't had the full external audit treatment yet, but having that limited review, well, that still matters. It gives a certain level of assurance. Basically, the reviewers are saying they didn't spot any obvious major errors. And the company also mentioned they'll publish the consolidated results in the proper format. That's standard stuff. But approving them quickly like this, it suggests they're trying to be timely. Yeah, that quick approval is interesting. Suggests maybe some confidence in the numbers, even if unaudited. Okay, so the second main outcome from the meeting was the reappointment of their cost auditors. The board, based on what the audit committee recommended, gave the green light to reappoint PD Downey and Associates. And that's for the financial year 2025-26.
And a cost auditor's role, it's actually quite specific. It's different from your standard financial auditor. Their main job is to look at the company's cost records, verify them. It's about making sure the costs are accurately recorded and that the company is following, specific industry costing rules. Things like the SEBI regulations, the listing obligations, and disclosure requirements. It's really about cost efficiency and operational transparency.
Got it. So less about the overall profit loss statement and more about the nitty-gritty of costs. Okay, so let's unpack this firm then, PD Downey and Associates. What does the filing tell us about them? What jumps out at you?
Well, Annexure A in the filing gives some good specifics. First off, it's a reappointment, so there's continuity there, not a change. And it's for a one-year term for this current fiscal year. But what's really quite interesting is the profile they give. They describe PD Downey and Associates as a specialized cost accounting firm. It's led by two partners, Mr. Praful D. Downey and Mr. Sandeep Padar. Both are qualified cost accountants. And the experience level, Mr. Downey has over 45 years.
Wow, 45 years. That's quite a tenure.
It really is. And Mr. Padar has over 15 years. And this experience is across, diverse industries working with reputable companies.
Okay, so serious experience there. What about the services the firm offers? The filing mentioned more than just audits, didn't it?
Exactly. This is where it gets quite insightful, I think. They list statutory cost audits, yes, and certifications, but also setting up costing systems, cost consultancy, and even developing costing-based turnaround strategies.
Turnaround strategies. That sounds like more than just checking the books.
Precisely. It goes way beyond just compliance, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It suggests NELCO isn't just hiring them to, tick the box on cost audits for past performance. They seem to be engaging a firm that could potentially offer deep operational insights, maybe even help shape future efficiency.
So it hints at a more strategic relationship with their cost auditors.
I think so. It implies they might be using this external expertise to potentially improve operations, maybe even guide some strategic decisions related to cost management.
Right. And for you, the listener, seeing this kind of continuity, this depth of experience in these broader services.
It should probably give you a bit more confidence in how NELCO manages its internal costs, and maybe their overall financial integrity.
That makes sense. It's a layer beyond just the financial audit. Okay, so moving on. This filing tells us the Q1 results were approved, but like we said, the actual numbers aren't here. So this next part is really about getting you ready, equipping you to really understand those details when NELCO does publish them. We're thinking about it like this. What are the critical questions you should be asking when those results land?
Absolutely, because honestly, knowing what to ask is often just as important as getting the answers, especially with corporate reports. It helps you think critically.
Definitely. So when those Q1 FY26 results for NLCO are out, where do we start? What's the first area to probe?
I'd say you start with the core financial performance, the big picture numbers.
Okay, like revenue, profit.
Exactly. How did NLCO do overall? Compare it to last quarter, compare it to Q1 last year. Did it meet what the market was expecting? Look closely at revenue, obviously, and net profit or loss. And importantly, the EBITDA margin. That's earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. It's a good measure of operational profitability. How did that change?
Right. And watch out for any one-offs.
Yeah, were there any one-time gains or losses that might skew the picture? You need to understand what's driving the core profitability.
Makes sense. Then after the headline numbers, we probably want to dig into the operations and strategy, right?
Mm,
What do the results tell us about different parts of their business? Any new things happening?
precisely. This is where you get more granular. Which business segments did well? Which ones struggled? Like, how did their consumer side do versus their industrial side, for example?
Mm.
Were there any new products launched or maybe new services expanded that actually moved the needle on revenue?
And what about what management says? Their commentary.
Crucial. What guidance are they giving for the rest of the year, FY26? Did they talk about any challenges they're facing? And what are their plans? Any strategic initiatives mentioned, maybe around tech innovation or capital spending plans?
Okay, good points. So performance operations, what's the third angle? Maybe the external context and risk.
Yeah, you need to place the results in context. How's the
Mhm.
competition looking? Did the competitive landscape affect NLCO's numbers?
And the broader market.
Right. Did shifts in market demand or maybe regulatory changes impact their sales or how they operate? And then zooming out even further, think about bigger trends, industry shifts, macroeconomic factors.
Like commodity prices, supply chains.
Exactly. Global supply chains, consumer sentiment. How are those big picture things playing into NLCO's business?
And from an investor's angle.
Well, how did the market react? What should investors think about long-term growth versus just this quarter's ups and downs? And maybe most importantly, based on these results, what are the key risks investors should really be aware of?
Got it. And somewhere in there, probably linked to performance, we'd look at their financial health too. Debt, cash flow.
Oh, absolutely. What's their current debt situation look like? How's the cash flow evolved? And those key ratios you mentioned earlier, like return on equity, ROE, how well are they using shareholder money to make profit?
And earnings per share, EPS.
hmm What do those tell you? And crucially, does it look sustainable?
Okay, that's a really solid framework of questions. So just to wrap up the key takeaways from this specific NLLCO filing from July 14th, two main things stood out. First, that quick approval of the unaudited Q1 FY26 results, which came with a limited review. And second, the reappointment of PD Danny and Associates as cost auditors.
Right, and that reappointment, especially with their profile and service list, it kind of signals maybe a deeper focus on operational efficiency, maybe even strategy, not just compliance. And, if you connect these dots, it really shows how even these seemingly routine compliance announcements can tell a bigger story. It's part of that narrative around corporate transparency and financial health. It's not just what gets reported, but how it's reported and who is overseeing these important functions. Looking at announcements like this, it's valuable for what they say, sure, but also for what they might imply.
And the questions they make you ask.
Exactly, the questions they provoke about what's really going on under the surface.
So what does this all mean for you listening? Well, hopefully you now have a better roadmap, not just for understanding what happened at NLLCO this week, but for how to approach financial reports and these kinds of regulatory filings from any company. You're hopefully a bit better equipped now to ask the right questions, to spot the details that matter. And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with. As you look at other companies, think beyond just the profit numbers. Consider who their auditors are, especially their cost auditors. Is there continuity? What kind of services do they offer? What might the choice of who checks their costs, especially if that fund talks about turnaround strategies, tell you about that company's real commitment to internal controls, efficiency, and maybe their long-term financial strength?